This is the Great Sudoku for AngryMarks.com. You can get at me on Twitter. My handle there is @GreatSudoku. You can leave me feedback, any comments that you have about my G1 Climax updates. And I'm giving you the update today for today's card, July the 28th. And what a much better card we had than Sunday's stinker. And we'll get right to it. I did watch the undercard matches as well as the G1 Climax B block matches for today, and I will cover all of that for you here in my audio recap. First match of the night was a six-man tag team match. We had Captain New Japan, Tiger Mask, and Jushin Liger taking on Ryusuke Taguchi, David Finlay, and Jay White. Not much going on in this match at all. Tiger Mask wins with a Tiger Driver pin on Jay White. The most interesting thing that happened in this match was Captain New Japan looking for a tag early in the match, and Tiger Mask and Jushin Liger completely ignoring him and not tagging him in. Eventually they did tag him in, but it was a decent comedy spot at the beginning, kind of keeping Captain New Japan on the outside and not letting him into the match. But eventually they did. I saw a new impersonation from Ryusuke Taguchi in this match too. He did the little rope dancing twirly leap off thing that Mascara Dorada did. But yeah, he does it nowhere near as perfect or neatly. It was a very sloppy version of Mascara Dorada's dancing rope walk. And yeah, it wasn't very good. Taguchi tried to hit the swagske and the ass first bomb IA again, but it was scouted by Captain New Japan, and he didn't take that ass bump. So it was good to see him not hit Nakamura's finisher. And yeah, Tiger Mask does pick up the win on Jay White with the Tiger Driver pin in your opening match. Second match was a regular tag team match. We had Chaos comprised of Yoshihashi and Toru Yano versus Doc Gallows and Cody Hall. And yeah, Yoshihashi's getting a bit of a push here, and in the fashion he's been winning his matches lately, he goes to the top rope, hits a swanton. Cody Hall's on the receiving end of that. 1, 2, 3 pinfall winner. Chaos picks up the win in this match. There really wasn't much to write home about in this match. I mean, it was a match. The only real highlight to me, the only thing that really stuck out was as he was coming to the ring, Toru Yano, his forehead was bandaged from the blade job that he did Sunday against Tenzin. And also, Toru Yano looked to be legitimately sporting a black eye. He had a shiner, and his right eye was swollen almost all the way shut, and that thing was purple. It looked nasty. So Yano, not only was his forehead bandaged, but he did have a black eye. I know I talk a lot of shit about him, but I mean, even seeing that was a bit much. It's like, well, with all the ill will that I have towards Toru Yano, maybe seeing him like that is what I need to kind of turn around and not talk so much shit on him. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't, offensive or, making me irate in this match. It was, a short second match. And yeah, Chaos picks up the win there. The third match we had was another six-man tag team match. The first team was Kota Ibushi, Mascara Dorada, and Togi Makabe taking on Hiroshi Tenzin, Katsuyori Shibata, and Yohei Komatsu. And as you'd expect, Mascara Dorada ends up getting the win with this with just a very beautiful and devastating Dorada driver on Yohei Komatsu. Taking a look at the highlights of this, there was a point in the match where Komatsu just crushed Dorada with an absolutely beautiful superplex, but I was perplexed that he didn't follow it up with anything. I mean, you hit a superplex like that, go for the cover or pound him with something more devastating and punishing and going for the cover. But yeah, I was surprised Komatsu didn't finish that one up. Yeah, not much going on in that match. Although Kota Ibushi hit another spot that Matthew may have to put in Botchamania. Ibushi went for his springboard over the top ropes under the apron, second rope moonsault spot. But, and this is a big but, he completely missed his target with this moonsault. He was going for Shibata. He may have just grazed Shibata in the arm on his way down, but ooh, that had to be a tough landing for Kota Ibushi to take, missing that moonsault. And there may be a low light reel from G1 Climax ending up on Botchamania comprised of just completely Kota Ibushi spots. So yeah, Mascara Dorada again gets the win for his team in this match. Not much to talk about. And then we had another six-man tag team match in at number 4 position here. Match number 4 saw Michael Elgin, Tetsuya Naito, and Hiroshi Tanahashi take on AJ Styles, Bad Luck Fale, and Tama Tonga. And yeah, in the bizarro world that is New Japan, Tetsuya Naito is actually less of a heel than Bullet Club. But yeah, go figure. It's kind of odd seeing Naito teaming up with Tanahashi just, on the next card after he had just faced him in the main event. Fortunately, this being a tag team match, Naito did not come out in his skull and his suit gear, which means he didn't take 6 years to get his ring entrance stuff off. It also means there's not a giant magnifying glass on him being in the main event. Though when he was first tagged into the match by Tanahashi, Tanahashi kind of gave him a little pat on the arm to tag him into the ring, and Naito sold this like he got, stabbed in the arm with a Bowie knife. He goes down to the ring apron like, oh, Tanahashi hurt my arm. He comes into the ring for all of about 5 seconds and decides it's time to bail and tags Michael Elgin in. It's kind of like, okay, I get it. If he does that once a match in an early match like this on the card, I don't mind that. He's a heel. What I do mind is after they pick up the win, and yes, the team of Elgin, Naito, and Tanahashi do win. Naito uses that weird float over neck breaker move to pin Tama Tonga. But after they get the win, Naito decides to throw the referee out of the ring, and this is kind of the point where it becomes overstated. Okay, if you lose, throw the referee out of the ring. You won. It's overstating yourself as a heel after you win to throw the referee out of the ring. I mean, really, New Japan, we get it. Tetsuya Naito is a heel. He does not have to throw the referee out of the ring following a win to prove this. But yeah, that was match number 4. We'll get to the final match of the undercard here now. Actually, that was the final match of the undercard. We'll get to the first match, actually, now of the G1 Climax B block. We had Yuji Nagata taking on Yujiro Takahashi. We had Yuji versus Yuji, so to speak, here. And Takahashi actually picked up the win here, and it was an interesting finisher. It was kind of like the attitude adjustment, but instead of, flipping your opponent off your shoulder to land on your back on the match, it was kind of a reverse motion where Takahashi flipped Nagata and he landed on his front. It was kind of like a crossbody front thing. The best way I can describe it was kind of a reverse motion attitude adjustment. Takahashi had him up with in a fireman's carry type position and then just kind of drove him face first into the mat and picked up the win. Some interesting highlights. Cody Hall once again did that Terminator drum line on the ring apron mat, but nothing ever came of it. It's like Takahashi didn't follow up and knock Nagata's block off after that. It was kind of a big setup with no payoff there, the Terminator drum line. So the biggest surprise of this match was when Cody Hall was just going to town on Nagata after Nagata got thrown out of the ring. And Takahashi was distracting the ref and I guess letting him do this. But when Takahashi went to pursue Nagata, got out of the ring, Takahashi looked at Cody Hall and said, no, don't attack him anymore, which was kind of neat. Like Takahashi saying, I want to do this on my own. I know we're Bullet Club and we do this kind of heel tactic stuff, but I want to win on my own. And he did win on his own in impressive fashion over Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, the seasoned veteran. So Takahashi picks up a win in B block action here in the G1 Climax. And the next match of the night, another G1 Climax B block match. We had Hiroki Goto taking on Tomokai Honma, and two very different styles of wrestling. But boy, did they pull out all the stops in this one. And I mean, Goto really threw everything except the kitchen sink at Honma in this match. He was finally able to win the match, hitting him with a Shoten. But yeah, it took everything that Goto had in his arsenal to put Honma away. And yeah, Goto did hit the Ushi Taroshi earlier in the match. He got a 2.5 out of it, and I was surprised that Honma kicked out of that. Honma early on went for some headbutts. He missed pretty much every headbutt that he went for. There was a point really early in the match where he had Goto down after some weak kind of knockdown move, and Honma took about 17 years to get to the top turnbuckle. I mean, just completely telegraphing the fact that Goto was going to move out of the way, and sure enough, he did. But yeah, it was a great match. This was a good match. It did go back and forth, but yeah, in the end, Hiroki Goto, your IWGP Intercontinental Champion, picks up the win in this G1 Climax B block match. And your second to last match on the card tonight was Tomohiro Ishii taking on Carl Anderson. And if you thought the last match went back and forth and that they pulled out all the stops, this match took that to a next level. It's like both men were they went back and forth and back and forth, and they hit each other with finishers, and finishers were kicked out of, and finishers were reversed. And surprisingly, it wasn't a clothesline or a lariat from Ishii that won this match. It was a high-angle head burst into the mat smash, a brainbuster that he took Anderson down with, and that got the pinfall victory. But yeah, there were some devastating spots in this match, like that fisherman's neck breaker that Anderson does. He hit that on Ishii, went for the pin. Ishii kicked out at 2. Anderson says, I'm going to follow this up. He goes to the top turnbuckle. As Ishii's getting up, Anderson catches him in midair off the top turnbuckle with the Carl Cutter, and he only gets a 2.9 count. Ishii kicks out at the last moment. It was an amazing match, and it went back and forth like that. And there was this injury that Ishii was selling after an attempted Carl Cutter. It would prove to be a theme later on in the night too, as it kind of happened in the main event. But it's interesting that they're kind of blurring that line where they, something innocuous that's not a move, like a setup for a move, will a wrestler will go down selling something like they're legitimately injured. But it did kind of help advance the story. I don't have that much of a problem with it. Um, yeah, it worked a bit, and seeing Ishii get back up after that as Anderson was taunting him and no sell about 10 elbow strikes from Anderson, it really did make Ishii look that much stronger as he was mounting his comeback. So yeah, Ishii, he does pick up the win in your co-main event, your second to last match of the night, beating Carl Anderson by pinfall after a brainbuster. And we'll move on to the main event here. We had Satoshi Kojima versus Kazuchika Okada, and yeah, fortunately we didn't have Kojima attacking Okada in a match prior to tonight because Kojima seems to have just been attacking his previous singles opponents and when he faced them in tag matches after the match was over. And this match, this went down to the wire. This was another back and forth match that could have been anybody's contest. But yeah, it came down in sort of the way you would expect it. Okada hits a really high flying drop kick right to Kojima's head that knocks him down. Okada picks Kojima up, hits him with a tombstone pile driver, lifts him up for the Rainmaker. You think it's over, but no! Kojima ducks out of the way of the lariat, but Okada's ready with a second lariat and catches him full force with the Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3. Kazuchika Okada is your winner in the main event. And much like the match before it, there were points in this match where both Okada and Kojima, just from very innocuous setups to moves, looks like they were selling injuries like legit and for real, but the way they came back in the match kind of indicates the fact they weren't really injured, they were selling it. But yeah, Okada, once again, he hit the heavy rain. It looked like earlier in the match he was going for a Rainmaker lariat, but Kojima ducked it, and Okada took that chance to pick Kojima up and just buried him into the mat with heavy rain. It almost ended right there, folks. Kojima kicked out at 2.9. But yeah, I mean, it did go back and forth. Yeah, Kojima had a nice Kojima cutter early in the match on Okada. Kojima, near the end of the match, nearly took Okada's head off with a clothesline, but he was too winded at that point. They were both selling their injuries to capitalize on that lariat, but it was a stiff lariat that just knocked Okada silly. But yeah, in your main event, Kazuchika Okada goes over Satoshi Kojima, and this was a decent card. It wasn't as good as the last B Block card, but it was a good card from beginning to end. I don't have any major complaints like I did with Sunday's card, which the main event was just a -4-star disaster. New Japan recovered from this. This is the kind of G1 show that I expect to see from New Japan, and they delivered. So I was a much happier camper with today's action. And this has been the Great Sudoku for AngryMarks.com with your daily, well, whenever they're running shows, it seems to be daily, recaps for the G1 Climax. You can get at me on Twitter at Great Sudoku.